I'm Simon Ditchburn. I'm the Managing Director of the Tudor Group of companies, and these insulation panels that you see behind me are about to become the walls of the Cube condominium. Panel is the company that's actually manufacturing all of these insulation panels for us, and they very kindly led us into the factory today to show us the progress, to see how we're coming on. Now, we've ordered two different types of panel. We have a 10 centimetre panel, which is between the living room and the bathrooms, and then we have a much larger 15 centimetre panel, which is between you and your next door neighbour. So this basically is the panel that you don't have to listen to their television. But obviously, as you can imagine, this goes really through quite some process to become that finished panel. And if you were to take your basic insulation, you can't just plaster on the top of that. The plaster would just fall off. It has to go through a steel caging system where when you cement onto that cage, it locks everything together. So we're going to show you some of the machines behind the scenes and try and show how the process works. EasyPanel are clearly not going to give me all the secrets behind the scenes, but just to give you a basic idea, they actually start literally from scratch. They make these insulation panels themselves here in the factory. So first of all, it goes through a process of mixing all the various chemicals, heating those chemicals up, molding them all together, so they actually produce the end panel, which is ready to go. Now that we've produced at one end of the factory the actual insulation panel, they have to be cut to the sizes that you need. So this is a really interesting machine. We've got superheated wires that run through the frame at the top, and they set those wires exactly the size of the panel that they want to cut. The framework slowly lowers itself down, and heat only in that wire actually cuts that panel. So you can imagine there's several panels at any one time that they can cut all at the same time. Okay, so far the insulation has been made at the bottom with the chemical process and the heating process. They've then been cut into the panels and the size that we need. Of course, you still can't plaster over the top of it. Over the top of it, you have to make the caging. And the insulation is actually set down inside the cage. Now, this amazing machine behind me is an automatic welding machine. It feeds the cables in at one side, it welds everything together inside the machine, and at the other end comes out a completed welded panel. Amazing. Then the process obviously is you have to set that insulation within the panel. It's basically sandwiched between the two, and then this time by hand the edges and the joints are wired and welded together to make the finish, and it's the manpower on top of it that will also check all of the welded joints from the actual machine. Now, some of these wall panels have obviously got water pipes and electrics involved. So within the middle process of actually sandwiching the cage together over the top of the insulation, they can put in the water pipes and the electrical conduits all ready to go before the plastering starts. Now, the end result of all of that process is what we see here, the complete wall panel. It's all encased within the reinforcing cage, and all of these panels are now ready to go on the truck, shipped up to Bangkok, where it goes into the precast concrete company that make the wall finishing. I think you can see behind me that the factory at the moment is absolutely full. It starts from here, it runs all the way down to the entrance doors of the factory, and they're ready to go on the truck and off up to the precast concrete company. So I need to go back to the building site now and make sure that we're ready at our side to actually receive those panels. We've just driven back from the Easy Panel factory, and I've got to check up on the progress here at the actual building site. I need to make sure that we stay in front of that precast system. I don't want any hold-ups in the chain. So I'm standing on the ground floor now. This was the last floor that you saw us form. And last time I was standing here, we were completely full of scaffold. And I was explaining to you how that will support the mould and support everything to actually make that structure. Well, you can see we've got as far now of taking all of that scaffold down. It's been a good 28 days now to allow that curing of the concrete floor to support itself, and everything is now literally sitting on these columns. There's nothing in between the columns, it's completely self-supportive. So we have to get all of this scaffold up to the next floor and then repeat the surface all over again. I'm standing up on the second floor now, where we've literally repeated the whole process of the floor below. So we're standing now with all of our columns completed right the way through the entire floor. The lift has been done, the staircase has been done. Now we've drawn the entire architect's plan on the slab. So it's all spray marked out. So we know exactly where to crane those walls into position. So basically I can walk in through my front door, I know my kitchen, I know my dining room, my front room, my balcony at the front, and then walking back into the bedroom on the one-bedroom apartment. It's all ready, it's all laid out. So the next part of our video, I've got to follow through to the precast concrete company, where they'll be delivering those panels over to make up the cement and the plastering on the finish. So we'll see you next time at that factory.